Hello everyone, this is Alien Reddit Stories, where I tell alien stories off of Reddit. Today we're going to get a few stories back to back. Let's just get into it. I'll leave the link for the stories in the description. Looks like I'm quite late to this. Well, the story takes place on the weirdest of dates, December 21st, 2012, in the Chicagoland area. After grabbing some Chinese food with my fiance's family, she and I were driving home. On the way home, about 40 yards above the middle of the road, we noticed an odd light like a telephone tower's, but soon realized it was attached to something unclear. Only the pill-like outline was visible. But it gets crazier. On the 20-plus minute ride home back to her house in the middle of BFE, we see dozens more, some darting across the sky, disappearing and reappearing, a mix of white and red lights. We eventually get back to her mother's house, where we were staying, and we watched the sky on her mom's porch. I watched one of the things take off like a jet from what must have been miles away and end up passing no more than 25 yards from her house. But still, I couldn't actually make out the thing well at all. Only tell that it was pill-shaped. Two white lights, one at each side. It hovered momentarily over her mom's house before slowly going off into the night. Another one came close, but more like 50 yards. The story's not over. That night, my fiance went to sleep just a little after midnight, and I was browsing the interwebs to relax after that crazy-ish. Naturally so. I suddenly felt very groggy and went to lay down beside her. As I was going to sleep, I heard what I could only describe as R2-D2 underwater. In my three-quarter sleep stupor, I checked the TV to see if Star Wars was playing. We'd watched it 12 hours earlier, but no, it wasn't. A movie about roller derbies was on once, and seconds after realizing how weird it was, I passed out. It's one of the only times I've ever remembered falling asleep. My fiance and I both must have woken up at exactly the same time, as in our eyes popped open at the same time. 4:30 a.m. Just a few hours after we'd both been so tired. My fiance told me she had a dirty feeling and urged me to come shower with her. We did so. We both had random aches and pains for a week or so. After as well. I'd say I have noticed a recognizable change in myself since that incident. Almost like my mind is clearer or functioning more smoothly overall. But I'm not sure if this is just my mind playing tricks on me. Long post, but it feels good to share. Thank you for sharing. Man, they violated you and your wife. How could you? How could you take advantage of them like that, aliens? Story number 2. Do I believe aliens exist? Absolutely. Do I think they visit Earth? Highly improbable. That being said, I do have a story to tell, though it might not be as exciting as some of the others. In late December of 2003, I was a passenger of Spirit Airlines flying from Los Angeles to Detroit. About an hour and a half into the flight, the captain asked all passengers to please close their window shades. I have flown out a lot, more than most people, and this has never happened before or since. I really wanted to peek, but I was only 9 years old and flying alone. I was an unaccompanied minor, so I had to sit in the back of the plane right next to the flight attendant station. I didn't want to risk getting into trouble, so I kept my shade down. It was only about a minute or a minute and a half before he told us we could reopen the shades, and I'm sure other people peeked. So it was something big there, and would probably have been a commotion, and there weren't any news stories on it. But I can't think of any reason why the captain gave the orders. Well, as your alien Reddit stories captain here, I would like you to always follow the advice of the captain. Your pilot, he or she, have incredible experience in the air, and they know what is good for you. Okay. All right. Perhaps they're just saving you from nightmares for eternity, living tormented as they are. Story number 3 and story number 4, back to back. I was actually out ghost hunting with my uncle and 2 cousins. We had been driving around this particular area a week before I decided to go back. Wait a minute, did you say you were actually ghost hunting? Okay, you know what, I won't even ask. We had been driving around this particular area a week before and decided to go back. The first time we were there was a huge river that ran underneath this bridge. We came back the next week. The river was gone, but the bridge was still there. It was weird, but somehow it didn't worry us at all. One of my cousins and I decided to go walking along this path that ran alongside where the river used to be. Keep in mind that it's about 2 a.m. anyways, We were walking down this dirt path, and when we get about 200 feet, I heard my uncle yelling to us. There was darkness surrounding us, so I was in the middle of trying to turn the flashlight on my phone. My uncle was yelling for us to get back to the car. As we turned around to go back, I heard something off in the distance. It was a loud, almost roar, but it was deep and angry. We took off running back to the car. When we got back to the car, to my uncle, we asked if he had heard it. He said no, but he saw 3 lights shoot up in the sky above our heads, and that's why he told us to come back. I still don't know what kind of creature was out there, whether it be alien, some yeti, or something, or like a bear that didn't roar like any other bear. Either way, it scared the ish out of me. Yeah, naturally so. And the final story. This whole UFO phenomenon is interesting. Many people report it. I personally have not seen it, but I've known people who did. The first story about UFOs I've heard when I was camping during hunting all the way in the boonies in Russia. I went with my uncle and some of an old friend of his. The story I heard involved one of the old guys who was pretty respected and down to earth, who claimed to see a big, silent, round disc hovering over the lake while he was fishing. The story wasn't one of those, let's talk about spooky things around the fire. Oh, I love those kind of stories. It was a genuine conversation, and the guy was puzzled. There were no more reports and about them and trying to understand what those things were. The second story about UFOs I've heard was from another person when I was 5, back in the 60s, playing outside. And this happened in Texas. Again, this is a person I respect and have never caught him lying or having any reason not to trust. He reported the same flying object, a disc, just slightly, silently hovering. The way he talks about it sometimes is convincing. This experience stuck with me for life. This is as far as my stories go. I have no reason not to believe any of them. From 2 respectable persons, one in Russia, village, and the next in Texas. The same story, the same huge silent disc, just slowly hovering. You know what? There are a lot of respectable people out there, and I tend to believe people that tell me things, you know? I'm not of those that just has to have everything perfectly proven. And if you made it this far, which I'm sure you did because you listened to this part, but just go ahead and press the subscribe button. Not gonna hurt you. It's a button. And press like, maybe leave a comment. Or don't. Not that serious. Either way, I'll see you next time in Alien Reddit Stories.